Hi, everybody. This is Miss Lee, and welcome to Junior Webinar 2. In this webinar, we're going to go over your graduation requirements, college eligibility, and engage in a transcript scrub so that you can make sure that you're on track to meet these requirements. Let's dive in. For our time today, this is our agenda. First, we're going to review our summit graduation requirements. Then we'll review the CSU and UC eligibility requirements. Then learn about local college guaranteed admissions programs, and then we'll engage in that transcript scrub. But before we do that, we're going to do a quick warm-up. What do you think is the number one determining factor in college admissions decisions? Is it test scores, grades, essays, letters of recommendation, or something else? Take a few seconds to say it to yourself or aloud in class. All right, let's see the answer. The number one determining factor in college admissions is high school grades. According to the National Association for College Admission Counseling, the top 3 admission decision factors in 2023 were high school grades in college prep courses, total high school grades in all courses, and the strength of high school curriculum. Luckily, by being a Summit student, we have prepared you to hit these 3 factors. All of our project time courses are college prep courses. For total high school grades, our graduation requirements exceed the minimum eligibility requirements for public state colleges. And for strength of high school curriculum, you take at least 2 AP classes in your junior year, and in senior year, almost all of your courses will be AP. So what does this mean for you? We know that high school courses and grades are going to be really important for college admissions. The main way that colleges see that information is through your transcript. So understanding your graduation requirements and the minimum eligibility requirements for state universities is going to help you evaluate if you're on track with your CNS goals. We're going to do a transcript scrub or a check to make sure that all of your information is accurate and flag any concerns to your mentor. For our objectives today, the first thing we're going to do is review your graduation requirements and eligibility requirements for state universities. Then we're going to check your transcript to make sure that no grades or classes are missing and that all your grades and credits are accurate. Then we'll make sure that you are on track to meet Summit's graduation requirements and A through eligibility. A through G is what CSUs and UCs require. Finally, we'll make sure that you have a plan for yourself based on your grades and your courses. What you'll need for our time today is a copy of your most recent transcript, a blank copy of this transcript scrub form, and something to write with like a pen or marker. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our Summit graduation requirements and UC CSU eligibility. Here is a table that lists our Summit graduation requirements and the UC CSU A through G requirements. At Summit, we require something called 4 in the core, which means taking 4 years in history, English, math, and science. For world language, you need to take at least 2 years in the same language. And for your arts or your VPA, you need to take at least 1 year. For your electives, we consider this as your expedition experiences. Expeditions isn't going to give you credit or grades unless you're enrolled in an eligible graded online course, but you are required to participate them as part of your high school experience. As we look at the UC CSU A through G requirements, we can see that by meeting the Summit requirements, we automatically meet A through G eligibility, and that includes meeting the recommended credits for UCs and CSU. So you may be asking yourself, why does Summit require us to exceed the A through G minimum? If we recall, college admissions look at your total high school grades and the strength of your curriculum. So exceeding the minimum requirements will give you a leg up in the admissions process. We also believe that engaging in these rigorous classes will help you build the skills, knowledge, and habits for you to be successful in college and life. If you're a transfer student, you may have to take additional classes to meet these requirements. For my visual learners, here's a graphic that can help you visualize the summer graduation requirements and the A through G eligibility. You should have a printout of this in front of you. Your A through G requirements are listed at the bottom, and the orange line represents the minimum requirements. So as you can see, your history classes are known as your A courses, your English classes are your B, math are your C, and so on and so forth. If you see a pink border around one of the boxes, that's what UCs and CSUs recommend that you take. So if we look at science, we see that they require at minimum 2 credits of science, but they actually recommend that you take 3, and Summit requires that you take 4. For our Summit requirements, you'll see the words Summit requirement in the box. You'll also notice that some boxes have descriptions in them, like government or physical science. This is to show you that you must take specific classes in that category at some point in high school. So if we go back to history here, you are required to take 3 years of history, of which needs to include at least 1 year of government, 1 year of US history, and 1 year of world history. Your 4th year of history can be any history class. Each box is going to represent 1 credit or 1 year. But if you only pass 1 semester of a class, then you'll have to make note of that by marking only half of the box. I'll explain that a little bit more once we get into the actual transcript scrub. First, let's review UC and CSU eligibility requirements. The majority of Summit students apply to at least 1 CSU and 1 UC. To be eligible to apply to a UC or CSU, you need to fulfill specific academic requirements. First, you need to be a high school graduate or the equivalent, such as getting your GED. Then you need to meet all minimum A through G classes, just as we saw in the prior slide. If you have attended Summit since 9th grade, you automatically are taking the right classes. If you are a transfer student, you may have to take additional classes to meet A through G. The minimum GPA for UCs is 3.0, and the minimum GPA for CSUs is 2.5. And please take note, eligibility means that you are meeting the minimum requirements to apply. It's not going to guarantee that you'll get into the CSU or UCs that you're applying to. Now let's take a closer look at CSU GPA eligibility. For CSUs, they only use your GPA from 10th and 11th grade. On your transcript, you'll see a GPA that is specifically for CSUs and UCs only. If your GPA is at least a 2.5 and above, you can apply to a CSU and you're guaranteed admission to a non-impacted campus, such as SFSU or CSU East Bay. If your GPA is between 2.0 and 2.49, each campus will have different criteria that you can be eligible to apply based on the supplemental information that you have. This can include additional A through G coursework that you take, your extracurriculars, your work experience, and if you engage in any educational support programs such as AVID. If your GPA is under 2.0 right now, unfortunately, you're not eligible yet. One of the benefits of us reviewing your transcript now is that there's still time to raise your GPA and have you eligible to apply and get those guaranteed admissions to CSUs. For UC GPA eligibilities, UCs also only use your GPA from 10th through 11th grade. Their minimum requirement for GPAs is 3.0. And you can't have any D's or F's on your transcripts. If you happen to have one on your transcript, then you need to retake that course so that a passing grade can replace your prior grade. Now let's talk about those local guaranteed programs. Both CSUs and UCs offer guaranteed admission programs, which is amazing. For Cal State universities, their guaranteed admission program is known as the Local Admission Guarantee. This is to say that if you are eligible to apply for a CSU, meaning you have at least a 2.5 GPA, you will get into at least 1 CSU. This only applies to certain campuses that are not impacted. For us in the Bay Area, that's going to include San Francisco State University and Cal State University East Bay. These schools can change every year, so you just want to make sure you talk to your mentor to see which schools are the guaranteed admission schools for that year. You do have to submit an application to each of these schools in order to get that guaranteed admission. So when you apply to CSUs next year, you got to make sure that you add FSSU and CSU East Bay on your list. This doesn't guarantee that you will be added to the majors that you want, just the school. For University of California, their guaranteed admissions program is known as the Eligibility in the Local Context, or the ELC. Their guaranteed admission program is more rigorous than CSU. To be eligible for this program, you need to be ranked in the top 9% of students in your class and that you are not admitted to any of the campuses that you selected. Then you will be offered a spot at a UC campus that has space. In order to be considered in the top 9%, they're going to be looking at the CSU UC GPA. You will automatically receive an offer admission from a UC if you're not admitted to any of your campus selections. So this is to say that if you happen to apply to 5 UCs and you don't get admitted to any of them, UCs will automatically offer you a spot at one of their UCs that has space. But again, you do have to be ranked in the top 9% of your class at your school. Another amazing opportunity we have for guaranteed admission is with Menlo College. Thanks to our partnership with them, Summit students with at least a 2.0 GPA are guaranteed admission and merit scholarships. Menlo College is a small 4-year private school just outside of San Francisco that focuses on business and psychology. They offer on-the-spot admission during our college application nights, which you'll attend in the fall of your senior year. If you have at least a 2.5 GPA, Menlo College will give you $47,000 per year in merit scholarships. If you have a 2.0 GPA, they'll give you $10,000 a year. And if you're experiencing financial hardship, your total tuition is covered by Menlo College. Other benefits of Menlo College and our partnership include that they only have a 5-minute application. It's super quick, and they don't require any test scores, essays, or letters of recommendation. So come fall of your senior year, you can expect us to encourage you to apply to Menlo College. All right, now let's go ahead and dig into that transcript scrub. Let's prepare by getting these materials out now. What you'll need is your transcript, this transcript form, and something to write with. You're going to give this to your mentor at the end of the webinar, so please make sure that you write your name on it somewhere on the paper. I'm going to be walking through the entire process first before you do this on your own. If you'd like to follow along with me, great. But it's likely I'm going to be going faster than you can complete the form, so don't rush through it. You'll have time at the end to complete it. As we go through the content, here are some reminders. First, remember that expedition experiences do not appear on your transcript since they are ungraded and do not give you credit. The only exceptions to this are if you took or are taking an eligible online course through a provider such as BYU or Outline. Next, remember that although the requirements listed on the UC CSUs are just the minimums, students who end up going to UCs and CSUs generally need more than the listed minimums to get in. This is especially important if you plan on applying to a competitive UC or CSU. Next, if you're considering a 2-year college or another post-secondary pathway, it's still important for you to engage in this transcript scrub because meeting A through G will ensure that attending a UC or CSU is always available to you. And remember that our Summit graduation requirements ask that you take 4 in the core. Next, the vast majority of you should be on track to fulfill the graduation requirements and meet A through G. All right, now let's look at our transcript. We're going to begin at the top of your transcript and work our way down. At the very top, you're going to see a box with your personal information. What I want to highlight here is that college applications will ask for your state ID. This is where you can find it. It's going to be right underneath your name to the right of your student ID. This is usually 10 digits. Now let's work our way down. In the middle of your transcript, you'll see all of your grades and classes from 9th through 11th grade. For each section, you're going to see the name of the school or college that you attended and the school year. In this case, if this is my transcript, you'll see that I first attended Santa Teresa High School before transferring to Summit Tahoma. Then on the far left, in the leftmost column, you'll see a number. This is the grade level when you took that class. 9 is for 9th grade, 10th is for 10th grade, 11 is for 11th grade. In the column next to it, right next to the name of your course, you'll see a letter. These letters refer to the type of class they are. So think A through G. All history classes are A, all English classes are B, and so on and so forth. In the middle of your grade and the type of class it is, you'll see a plus sign. That plus sign means it's an AP class. As we move to the right, that's where you'll see the grade that you earned in that class and the credits that you receive. Summit courses are year-long and worth 1 credit. So you'll see the grade and then a 1. If you went to a school that was based on semesters, then you'll see 2 sets of grades. You'll see the grade for your first semester and the credit you earned, and then the grade for your second semester and the grade that you earned. One semester credits are only half a credit. In this case for math, you can see that I got a B plus in my first semester and then another B plus in the spring semester. At the bottom right of your transcript, you'll see a gray box that will list your GPAs. You're going to see 3 different GPAs, your unweighted, weighted, and UC CSU GPA. Your unweighted GPA means that this is including all of your classes from 9th through 11th grade, but no added point values for your AP or any college classes you may have taken. Your weighted GPA includes all classes from 9th through 11th grade, and it's going to account for the added value of AP and college courses. Just in case you're not aware, if you take an AP class or a college course, you get 1 extra point added to your GPA. This is how people get GPAs that are higher than 4.0. For your UC CSU GPA, this is going to include all classes from only 10th through 11th grade, and it's going to account for the added value of AP and college courses. On this slide, you'll see a table on the left that will show you the grade point values for each grade, both weighted and unweighted. You want to note that while pluses and minuses have different values for your unweighted GPA, they don't matter for weighted GPAs. On college applications, CSUs and UCs will only want your UC and CSU GPA, and private schools typically ask for weighted GPAs. If your UC CSU GPA is less than 2.5 right now, circle this section so that you can flag it for your mentor. This is a sign that they will probably want to check in with you to discuss what options you have. Okay, now let's dig into the work and begin completing our transcript scrub form, right? Make sure that you have your transcript on one side and the form on another and something to write with. Step 1. For each course on your transcript, you want to color in the box that corresponds to that subject, then cross it off your transcript once you're done. You don't want to use any classes with a failing or incomplete grades. You'll know this because you'll have 0 credits for that course. So as we look at my transcript, I'm just going to work my way from top to bottom. My first class that I see is biology from Santa Teresa. I can see that I got a B plus in one semester, but a D in the next one. So I only actually received half a year's worth of credit. So on my form under biological science, I'm only going to put half a credit. You can color in half the box, but for me, I'm just going to put a half fraction. Then I'm going to only cross off my first semester because I didn't get credit for that D in the spring semester. My next class is English, and I can see that I passed both semesters. So in the English column, I'm going to check off that first box since I got 1 year's worth of credit. Then I'm going to cross it off my transcript. My next class is math. I also passed both semesters, so I earned 1 whole year, and so I'm going to check off that first box under the math column and then cross it off my transcript. You're going to keep working through your transcript, making sure that you check off every box in the transcript scrub that appears on your transcript. By the end of your transcript, your form should look something like this, right? You have check marks on your form and all of the classes on your transcript are crossed off, so long as you got credit. I chose to mark my junior year grades in red since technically I need to wait until I pass my classes to earn those credits. So this is a reminder that if you're someone that's on the border of passing and failing a class, you should work with your mentors and teachers to stay on track. During this process, you want to ask yourself, are any classes or grades missing from my transcript? If this applies to you, do I have my community college or online classes listed? And if you're a transfer student, you want to make sure that all your classes and grades from your previous school are correct. Let's move on to step 2. For step 2, you're going to mark which classes you plan to take in senior year with an S. In senior year, students typically take AP Gov, AP English Lit, AP Math, AP Environmental Science, AP Spanish, or VPA. So as you think about the classes that you're going to take next year, you're going to mark an S in that category. So for example, I know I'm going to be taking AP Gov next year, so I'm going to put an S in the government box in the history column. I also know I'm going to be taking AP Lit, so I'm going to also put an S in the English column and in that last box. You're going to work through for the rest of your senior year schedule until your form looks something like this. I'm going to be taking AP Environmental Science, and I also need to take a VPA since I haven't taken one yet. As you go through this process, you should be also asking yourself, am I planning to take any summer, online, or community college classes from now until the fall of your senior year. For step 3, we're going to confirm if you're on track to meet Summit graduation requirements and A through G eligibility. For this step, you're going to look for any boxes that haven't been marked or only have half a credit. So based on my form, I can see that I have one empty box in the history column and only half a credit in my science column for biology. I'm going to circle them here so that you can see. Now, I am technically missing my elective credit here, but your elective credit can be any college prep course that exceeds the minimum for any category. Usually this is APES or Modern World History. So since I know I'm taking APES next year, this can count as both my 4th year of science and my elective credit. So we can actually put an S here. You can use any course that exceeds the minimum. So for language, I'm in Spanish 3, so that can also count as my elective. But for this, I'm just going to use APES. During this process, you want to ask yourself, which classes am I missing? What are my plans to recover the credit or enroll in missing classes? And do I want to take additional classes in a specific subject? Here are some red flags to be aware of as you work through the form. If you have a D, F, a no pass, or an NP, or an incomplete, or an I, then you need to talk to your mentor so that you can create a plan to recover the credits. Retaking a class can give you credit and replace your grade. This directly impacts your GPA and which schools you can apply to and gain guaranteed admission for. If you're missing grades or credits from your previous school, ask the front office to double check your previous high school transcript. They will have a copy. Sometimes mistakes happened, or there may be some confusion about your courses that you can clarify. If you're not going to meet graduation requirements or A through G, talk to your mentor so that you can create a plan to take classes this year or during summer school or do credit recovery. We want to avoid having to make up credits in senior year since it's already going to be very busy for you. All right, let's do a quick check for understanding. So we just finished filling out our transcript form, and this is what we see. Based on the information, what does this student need to do to meet graduation requirements and A through G? Take a few seconds and think through what would be the resolutions if this was your transcript. All right, the first thing we're going to need to do is address that missing history credit, right? We need to take another history class in addition to AP Gov next year. So my options are taking Modern World at Summit, or I can take a history class online or through community college. We don't recommend going this route if you're not a strong independent learner, but if you're confident in your skills as a self-directed learner, then you can choose to take a class online or through community college. The next thing that I need to make up is that half a credit of biology. My options are going to be attending summer school at Summit, taking 1 semester of biology next year at Summit, or I can also enroll in a biology class online or through community college. As you can see, making up credits is not always clear. So this is why it's important that if you are missing credits, talk to your mentor, talk to someone in the front office, and they can talk through your options. All right, it's almost time to begin. As we go through this transcript scrub, success is going to look like this. All of your boxes should be filled or have an S. All courses on your transcripts are crossed off or accounted for. And if this applies to you, you have a plan to correct any issues or make up credits or classes. And you'll communicate with the front office if you need to enroll in any additional classes outside of typical senior classes, like Modern World 2. If you need clarification, ask for it. Transcripts can be very complex, so please don't be shy about asking for help since your mentor can help clarify information for you. Once you're done, give it to your mentor so that they can review it for you. And before I sign off, here are your action items for today. You're going to turn in your transcript scrum to your mentor and make sure that your name is on it. You'll make a plan for addressing any issues on your transcript, such as incomplete grades or missing courses. And if you need to do credit recovery, you can check out this resource for credit recovery options. And if you'd like, you can predict your GPA at the end of junior year by using this GPA calculator. This calculator allows you to input your courses from 9th to 12th grade and allows you to predict what your year-end and cumulative GPAs will be. This is going to be really important for students who are on the cusp of getting a 2.5 GPA, which is the minimum GPA to apply to CSU, or 3.0, which is the minimum GPA for UCs. This can let you know what grades you need to achieve to get that GPA. I'm going to walk through the GPA calculator very quickly. When you open up the sheet, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a section for every grade, and you're going to see the option to add the course, the letter grade, and the credits. It's going to automatically be filled with 1, but you want to change it to half a credit if you only have semester grades. On the left-hand side, you'll see 3 different sections. The first one will show your GPA, your unweighted GPA, and your UC CSU GPA. Then you'll see a tracker for your UC eligibility. It will say eligible as long as you have at least a 3.0 GPA and you've met your A through G requirements. For this exercise today, it's not important that you're meeting A through G because your 12th grade classes are not going to be listed, but what you can see is your GPA at the end of junior year. The last tracker you'll see is for CSU eligibility. It will say eligible if you have at least a 2.5 GPA and if you met your A through G requirements. As you go through this form, input the courses for every grade. If you run out of space, you can scroll to the right and you'll see a section named additional grades. This is where you can put any extra classes for any grades. Once you're done, the sheet should look something like this, right? All of my grades are inputted from 9th and 10th and 11th grade. For every grade, I'll see my GPA, both my weighted and unweighted. And on the left-hand side, I'll be able to see my cumulative unweighted GPA and my UC CSU GPA. As we can see, I'm a student that typically gets B's and C's. Right now, my UC CSU GPA is only 2.91. So while I can apply to any CSU, I really want to apply to UCs. So that means I need to think about how I can raise my grades for junior year so that I can have at least a 3.0 GPA. So as I look at my junior year grades, I'm predicting I'm going to get mostly B pluses and a couple C's. But since I want at least a 3.0, I'm going to think about which class I can improve my grade in. So I'm going to think about which classes can I push myself in to raise my grade just a little bit higher. And then I'm going to come up with these 2 scenarios. For my foreign language class, if I push from a C plus to a B minus, I'm going to get exactly a 3.0. But if foreign language isn't my strongest suit, maybe I will shift my attention to science. Instead of a B plus, I think I can get myself an A minus, and that will also get me to a 3.0. So this is an exercise for you if you're someone that's just under 2.5 or just under 3.0 to predict your grades and see what are the minimum grades that you need in order to hit that 2.5 or 3.0 GPA. This is also helpful if you're somewhere in between. Maybe you have a 3.8 GPA and you actually really want a 4. This is another tool for you to see what grades you need to get in order to achieve your desired GPA. All right, once you finish your action items as a group, feel free to debrief what we learned today by answering these questions. First, what questions are coming up for you about transcripts, graduation or eligibility requirements, or guaranteed admission programs? Next, how does this help you think about your concrete next steps? And finally, what are you interested in learning more about as you prepare for senior year and college applications? Remember that I'm always here to help you through these questions and answer them for you, or you can always talk to a mentor or a school leader on your campus. That's all for now, folks. See you next time.